we point to and acknowledging that we looking forward to some rest real soon, because it's going to be 1,000 years of peace. That's what this day points to. On the earth. You ain't got to go to heaven to get no peace. The Lord going to bring it right here. And we're going to deal with a lesson, kind of, some of it is mentioned in the Lord's Prayer, but all in all, it is something that we need to be mindful of all the time. Because we get caught up in the things in this world, and we get caught up in things that we want personally ourselves. Even once you know God, that don't leave. You have to constantly do battle with your own self, not to have things how you think they should be, not to have things according to your will. It's a constant battle. You have to keep reminding yourself that it really is not about you. And that's contrary to man, because the flesh make you think it should be all about you. It's all about numero uno, as it was said back in the day. And that's the way, to this day, that's the way the flesh operates. But now we're going to get into it. We're going to start off in Matthew 6 chapter, which is where the Lord's Prayer is at. And the title simply is, Thy will be done, not mine. And that's what you need to say. That's mentioned in the Lord's Prayer. And we need to say that we need to pray all the time. And we need to even think this to ourselves all the time, because it's easy, again, to get caught up in wanting it our way. And it don't even have to be nothing that's necessarily sin. It don't have to be something that's sin, but it could be something that you just don't need to have the way you think it need to be. Because it still would create more problems for you. And that's why it's important to trust the Lord. That's why the Bible talk about trusting the Lord, trusting the Lord. And we read that and we say stuff like that. But then when push comes to shove, we really don't trust the Lord, because we feel it need to be a certain way, and that's the way we want it, period. Not realizing it can't be that important, because this life going to be over real soon. And we worried about it being this way or that way, when we should focus on it being whatever, according to whatever the Lord's will is. Thy will be done, not mine. Matthew 6 and verse 9. And we don't have that many scriptures. We only got 14 scriptures, but that's 13 more than most people going to get on Sunday. And we got a whole lot of verses, because some of these are long, so we still doing a lot of reading. Matthew 6 and verse 9. Go ahead.
After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Okay, now this is the way we need to pray this daily. And this is putting it in the Lord's hands, because we all got things that we would prefer a certain way, but we want to focus on God's will, period. We want to focus on that. So if we pray this constantly, the whole Lord's Prayer, then by itself is having us put our focus and attention on Him. Go ahead and read while I fix this.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
Okay. So now, he said, after this manner to pray, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Then he said, Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So you focusing just the beginning of this prayer, and when you get to the end, it go back to the same thing. It's about his kingdom that's coming to this earth, which most people don't know, because most people have been duped by Satan to think it's about going up to heaven instead of him coming down with a kingdom. But at any rate, he said, pray this, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is. So that's the Lord's goal, to have his will being done in earth like it is in heaven. It's not that way right now. Satan's will is being done. That's why wickedness rules the world right now. So when we pray this, we looking forward to something in the future that we know is going to come. I'm not even hoping or guessing. I know that it's going to come in the future. That's what we're looking forward to when we pray this. But in the meantime, until it get here, see, the people that's serving God right now, the people that's serving God, trying to do his will, then we basically are ahead of our time. We ahead of the rest of the world, the way the rest of the world is ultimately going to be. So we thinking right now, according to, that's why the Bible lets you know kind of that the representatives, they talk like, and this confused some of these preachers, they try to misuse it as if the kingdom of God is here. Yeah, people that's serving God is here right now. His will as a whole is not being done in earth as it is in heaven, but by a few people that know what it's all about, yeah, in your life, that's how it should be. It should be about God's will and not your own will. That's how it have to be in your life. So we living according to that rule or that law or that standard, we're ahead of our time the way it's going to be in the whole world in a little while. Because that's what he said. And he mean that. See, people take things for granted in the Bible. This is not in the Bible just for good reading. He said this is how he wants you to pray. That means you are looking forward to this. You asking the Lord, let this be done. But you're not asking the Lord to let something be done personally for yourself. That's why it's good to pray the Lord's Prayer. You're not focusing on your own personal self when you pray this. He said, after this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So you focusing on what the Lord's goal is. But now go to Matthew 26. See, that was for overall. That's overall. His will is going to be done in earth as it is in heaven. But those of us that serving God now, we got to make it that way now in our own personal life. You can't control the rest of the world. But you can look at it and have it where you want his will to be done in your life and not your own will. That's what that means. Either one got to give. Either it's going to be God's way or it's going to be your way. And sometimes things might even look like it's okay, but then you force the issue and have it your way. Then you turn around and wish you hadn't done that. Matthew 26 and verse 38. See, now this is Jesus when he got ready to be crucified. Quite naturally, like we talk about all the time, we talk about eventually it's going to come a time when even some people living now, serving God the right way, are going to be killed for the word of God. We talk about that, and a lot of times that just go in one end, out the other, but that is going to come. Now, we talk about that, but, you know, it's not something that everybody just, that's why I go in one end, out the other, because there's nobody standing in line for that to happen. I want that to happen. I remember years ago, I'm not going to lie, when I was new in the word, I was talking crazy like that. Like, oh, I'm ready to die for the Lord. I say all the time, I take it back. If it should come, then I got to do what I got to do. But even I understand that's more than a notion. Even Jesus himself, here's a man that was God in the beginning, and then he turned around and become man, knew all the time when he was walking this earth. This shows you how weak the flesh can get. That's why you got to stay on top of it. All the time he was walking this earth, he knew, and he was telling people, yeah, you know, I got to die. He even knew how he had to die. That had to be rough. Yeah, I'm going to die eventually. Even the apostles was arguing with him. Peter said, oh, man, you ain't going to die. Come on, man. Jesus said, no, I got to die. But when it got to this point, even he started having some second thoughts. So you know you got your hands full if God manifested in the flesh had to fight his flesh off to make it not his will, but according to God's will. Matthew 26:38. Go ahead.
Then saith he unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me.
See, now this is Jesus. See, it's one thing about it. Jesus, you know, people realize when you get some understanding, you realize, yeah, he was God manifest in the flesh. Before he became a flesh and blood man, he was actually the one that they called Jehovah or Yahweh, whatever name you want to use. He was him. I am, that was him before he became a man. But the thing about it is, he knew where he came from, but yet and still, he was flesh. In other words, he had the wisdom and the knowledge, but yet and still, he still had to deal with all the same fleshly desires. He still had to be tempted, the Bible say, just like us. So he still hurt. He still went through pain. It's not like when they eventually nailed him to that tree, being that he used to be God, it didn't hurt him. No, he was a flesh and blood man. So he was affected by things that flesh affected by, even though he had foreknowledge of where he came from, and he had knowledge of God's will totally, but yet still he had to deal with it. So this is why I'm saying all of that to say this is why he is going through agony right now at this point where we're reading. Matthew 26 and verse 38, we just read that. He said, then said he unto them, talking about his disciples, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me. So he was going through some great sorrow. Just thinking about it. He wasn't in really physical agony. He was going through mental agony, really trying to deal with the way he knew it was supposed to be. And we go through the same thing over something a lot less. We go through some mental agony over something that really don't mean a whole lot. We be sitting there agonizing over it. And if you really look at it, you say, well, that's really not that serious. But what he was agonizing over was that serious. He was agonizing over knowing it's about time for him to get beat up and crucified, nailed to a tree, and hadn't done nothing wrong. And what make it worse, this had to make it worse, you got the power to stop it at any point. You got the power to say, look, that's I don't think so. I don't know one of us that will have the mindset to do. I'm talking about you got the power to make it how you want to make it, and it's going to hurt you real bad to leave it alone, and you just going to leave it alone. We be hurting ourselves trying to change it when we can't change it. This is what he about to do. That's what he said. Go ahead, verse 39.
And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thy will.
See, this is what he agonized over. What cup? The cup of death. Not just any death, being murdered by some people in the ugliest way. Because man could be treacherous. He knew exactly how they was going to do it. They're going to beat him up, slap him around. Then when they get tired of beating him, they're going to nail him to a tree until he dead. Do whatever they want to him. So he said, look, he told the disciples, watch with me, meaning, pray and seek the Father with him. And he went a little further, it said, and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt." So now he had clarity on what he wanted it to be. That's why I say it don't have to be nothing that necessarily constitutes you sinning against God. It could be something that you just want that you really don't need. Don't have to be sin. So that's why he added that. He said, look, if it's possible, any way possible, let this cup pass. I want to skip over this, but before he concluded, he said, nevertheless, not as I will, not how I want it to be. I know how I want it to be, but I want it to be however you want it to be. Not as I will, but as thou will. That's why I was saying the Lord's Prayer is that's a prelude of the future. You praying, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So if you want that to come in the future, then you need to try to operate like that now and let his will be done, period. That's why we keep his commandments, because that's his will. But across the board, this is what we need to focus on daily, his will being done in our life, not our will, because the things we want a lot of times to get us in trouble. He said, "Oh, my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt." Go ahead, verse 40.
And he cometh unto the disciples, and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Peter, "What, could ye not watch with me 1 hour?"
See, now he come back, and this is his weakest hour. He getting real weak, knowing what he got to go through. And he said, "What? They sleep. They went to sleep. They really going through their own thing. They can't even keep their eyes open." He said, "What? You couldn't watch with me 1 hour?" He said, this one I really need. See, and sometimes that's what your temptation need to be. You need to end up going through it. You might try to get some help from somebody, and they don't answer the phone. They can't be found at the time you feel you really need them, but really, you still got the Lord. Go ahead, 41.
Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
See what he told them? He told them, make sure they watch and pray. See, this is why you have to, in other words, he letting them know, and through them letting us know that you got to stay on guard and focus all the time, or else you're going to end up in trouble. That just stole the saved doctrine out the window. People say, "Oh, I'm saved." Look, if you were saved, it wouldn't be nothing to worry about. It wouldn't be no need for him to be agonizing here, or for him to warn the disciples to stay on point. Because if you were saved, you shouldn't have to worry about no temptation. What difference do it make? If I'm saved, right? What difference do it make? Oh, okay. Yeah, I hear you, Jesus, but I probably forgot I'm saved. So I do what I can do. I look into it, but I'm saved. So I ain't really got to worry about it like that. No, that's a lie. That's why he's telling them. He said, watch and pray. That means he didn't even just say just pray. You got to be on the lookout for what you're praying for and what you need to do, what you need to be about. You got to be on the lookout, making sure you are not fumbling the ball. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. What he say at the end of that?
The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
See, that lets you know it's a constant battle. The spirit indeed is willing. See, Even when you got some understanding of God like they had, like, of course, Jesus had, you still got to stay on top of it because, hey, you could be wanting to do the right thing. But if you don't pay attention and stay focused, you still end up messing up. That shows you how dangerous the flesh is. You know, you don't even want to do wrong no more. It's just like for most men, I talk to most men that's in the truth, serving the Lord, most of them, not all of them, their biggest problem was fornicating with women. I'm just going to be honest with you. Their biggest problem was fornicating with women. And then they know they can't do that no more once they come to the Lord. They know they have to stop doing that. Okay, and that's good once you realize it, and the Lord can give you some power over it, but once you still have to stay on guard with it because you might not be doing like you used to do, going around looking for some woman to fornicate with. Hopefully you get to that point where you obviously stop that, but still, hey, she gonna end up tipping up on you. So you still have to be on guard. You ain't got no intentions. It's just like I understand even when you look at what happened with King David, a man after God's own heart, he didn't have didn't look like from the scripture you read that he had premeditated and had intentions of going to commit adultery with this man's wife, Bathsheba. It didn't show that he planned that out and was plotting and scheming, even had no forethought about it. Nah, but all of a sudden one evening he walking on the roof and it looked like coincidentally she just down there bathing and he happened to see it. But ultimately, hey, it was his temptation. So that's why the Lord said, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing. You could be willing. You could have the mind to do right. And if you don't watch and pray, you will still do wrong. But the flesh is weak. Go ahead.
He went away again the second time and prayed, saying.
See, now why is he telling them that? Because he is learning from experience as a man that he used to be God. He learning from experience. He's like, whoo, this flesh is something else. I'm telling y'all better watch it. Now let me go back and get back to my thing. He had to get back on his thing now. After he warned them. That's why people be worried about me. You know, I'm supposed to be the pastor. Look, you ain't got to worry about me. I ain't that worried about you. If I see you doing something wrong, I'll tell you, but I ain't in no big rush to be looking around seeing what you're doing because I got my own problems to work out. So that's what he did. He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, oh, my Father, if this cup, go ahead, I'm sorry, finish, read 42 again.
He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, oh, my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done.
See, now he got a little more strength in because before he said, let this cup pass. So he got a little more strength because ultimately it wasn't going to be according to his will. If it was his will, we all would be in trouble to this day because he had to be a sin offering for us. See, he was going to be okay. That's the sacrifice and the beauty of what the Lord did. No matter what, it wasn't like he was going to be in trouble. Hey, he was God in the beginning, and he was going to be God all over again, regardless of whether he did this for us. We just was going to be in trouble. So that's why it's called a sacrifice. And like I said earlier, he had the power to stop it. Even he showed you he had the power to stop it. A little bit later on, after he was praying, when the people came to arrest him, Peter cut one of the guy's ear off, and he told Peter, he said, man, don't you know I could pray right now? We have some angels. I pray my Father send me thousands of angels. He said something about some legions, which is thousands. He named a number of legions. He had sent me so many legions of angels, it wouldn't even be a fight. So that let me know he still could have got out of it. And that's what I said about us. It's not probably, as they say down south, nan one of us that would have did that. You could stop, somebody about to do some terrible stuff to you, and you can stop it, but you're going to let it go through for the sake of somebody else. That takes some real faith. So now, he said, "Oh, my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me except I drink it, thy will be done." That's the title of the lesson. Thy will be done, not mine. That's what we need to say all the time, because we want it our way. We think it's Burger King. Go ahead.
And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy.
Now he got back and they still. He already warned them. But he told them the flesh was weak, so their eyes was heavy. They knocked out. See, that was more, Satan know how to put you through the ringer with temptation. He wasn't going to get no help from them. He wasn't even going to look like, they wasn't even going to front like they helping them. Therefore, maybe that'll make him discouraged more. Oh, man, I ain't got no help. I'm all by myself. Got to do this. That's how we get something. I'm the only one doing all this stuff. Like you about to lose your mind. That's how Satan to do it. He said, he came back and found them asleep again. Their eyes were heavy. 44.
And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words.
Mm-hmm.
Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, "Sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners."
Now you see how he kept seeking the Lord, and he kept the door open, and he meant it. What I mean, kept the door? He kept the door open for, even though he would like to bypass drinking this cup, he kept the door open for not his will to be done, but for God's will to be done. He kept the door open. He said, "Not my will, thy will be done." So he went back again the third time. See, that's what we have to do. See, we don't want to do it. Even sometime we might front like we want it, want to just do God's will. We'll front like it. Might even go ask somebody, say, "Well, what you think? I got two options here. And I'm trying to, I think this, I really want to do this, but say, I don't know, it might be." And then they'd tell you, say, "No, you don't want to do it, just wait it out." And they do it anyway, because really they was hoping they got somebody to co-sign. So, but he was truly open. That's what you have to be. You have to truly be open to letting it be God's will. Whatever God's will. That means whatever you think it should be, you have to be open to it not being that way. You have to really be open to it. And even start looking at it. Say, okay, well, if it's not that way, if it's not going to be how I want it, then so-and-so, so-and-so. See, that's what he was. So being that he was open, then that left him with the ability to get the mindset to handle it. He left the door open, so now the Father could work with him, because even though he would prefer it another way, you might prefer it another way. If you open to it, then the Father could give you strength to deal with it his way. And that's what happened. That's why his prayer got stronger. And finally, the last time, it seemed like it was just a formality. He saw them sleep again. He went back, verse 44. He said he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. What do he mean the same words? He went back and prayed, "Thy will be done. If this cup can't pass from me except I drink it, then hey, so be it. Your will be done." He prayed that the third time. And then when he got up from that prayer, he was resigned to have it that way, and he understood that that's the way it was going to be. Then he came back for 45. Read that again.
Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, Sleep on now.
He told them, don't worry about it now. Go ahead.
And take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners.
Uh-huh.
Rise, let us be going.
Uh-huh.
Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me.
See, he had enough strength to deal with it, just on time, right on time. Like to talk about God is on time God. Well, he was definitely on time because, hey, he had to make a decision quick because he was about to get, the people was at the door coming to get him. And if he didn't go through with it, if he called for them angels and they scrapped everything, it would have been a done deal. But now, go to Proverbs 3. So that's the best example you can have, the Lord himself. Now, if the Lord himself, who was God in the beginning, is going to go through the ultimate suffering and don't have to, didn't want to in the end, but he going to go through it to do God's will, then you know that's the mindset we got to have. Like I said, it'd be a lot less. It'd be some lightweight stuff, and we don't want it to be according to God's will, but got to have it our way. Proverbs 3 and 5. Proverbs 3 and verse 5. Okay, go ahead.
Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
See, now again, like I said earlier, it's easy to say, well, you got to trust in the Lord. You got to trust in the Lord. But when it come time to trust in him when it's not the way you want it, that's when you see how much trust you really have. That's why, again, it's worded as such. What did he say? Trust in the Lord. Read that again, verse 5.
Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding.
See, why he got to tell us that? Because that's exactly what we would do. See, even Jesus couldn't lean on his own understanding. He understood that he could want something that will be contrary to the way the Father's will. He understood that. So he didn't lean on his own understanding. He opened it up so it could be according to God's understanding, according to God's will. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. Lean not to thy own understanding. Go ahead, verse 6.
In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
See, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. See, and that's whatever you're doing. Whatever you're doing, that's why I said, you know, we focusing on the big picture, and that is God's will ultimately is going to be done in earth as it is in heaven. But right now, we got to practice that. We got to practice that. Those that know God got to have his will being done in our life as it is in heaven. And that takes some real trust. That's why he said, verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. But if you not acknowledging him, if you just saying, if you just going through the formality, but you really want it your way and you're going to have it your way regardless, deep down, you know you're going to do what you want to do, then, you know, you're not letting him direct your paths. You're directing your own paths, and that's going to come back to bite you. Proverbs 16. That's why he tells you stuff like this. Like I said, it don't necessarily have to be something that constitutes sin, just something you don't need. Like Paul said, all things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. But then let alone when you know it's something that constitutes sin, you know that's the time for God's will to be done and not yours. You know that's the time. But see, well, you can even get food on that note. You get food on that note. I seen brothers get food on that. They really got something in their mind that they want to do. But you could see it's contrary to God. But they go ahead and push the envelope, and then it'd be a big problem. And that's what he's telling you here, 16 and 25. One verse, go ahead.
There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death.
See, that's point blank. There's a way that seems right unto a man. And the reason why it seems right, because that's the way you want that to be right. You want that to be right. Don't have no backing for it to be right. Don't have no scripture. It's just like I seen brothers in the word, all of a sudden they stop really focusing so much on the scripture and start trying to philosophize. That let me know they trying to make something fit. You can't even deal with the scripture no more. You want to deal with philosophy, and you want to deal with, some man-made thinking. He said, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof, the end of it is death. That show you we can fool ourselves. That's why it's important up front to know what God's will is and make sure you doing that and you're not falling victim to your own will. Thy will be done, not mine. But now, go to Deuteronomy 17. Deuteronomy 17. See, and you got all kind of examples. Jesus is just he's a prime example. But you got other examples. Even great servants of God, like you had Daniel's 3 friends, where you had Daniel himself. It wasn't his will. You know good and well it was not Daniel's will to go in a lion's den. If you got any sense, you've been to the zoo, even though the lion's over there drugged, you don't even think about jumping over there with them. Why? Because it's no way, no how your will to be over there with them lions. So we know that wasn't Daniel's will. But evidently it was God's will to test him and then to make a point with everybody else. And it was not, do you think, see, it wouldn't have been a test for Daniel. See, God is the same. He don't change. It wouldn't have been a test for Daniel. His faith wouldn't have been tried if he knew up front that, look, ain't nothing going to happen to me when I go in this lion's den. He didn't know that up front. That's what made it a test for him. And he didn't waver. He knew one thing he did know. He knew that the God that he served was able. He knew that God is God over those lions as well. So he did know that God was able to save him, just like his 3 friends, Azariah, Hananiah, and Mishael. They had slave names like we got, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They did not know that they was going to get saved from that fiery furnace. They went in a fiery furnace. Obviously, that wasn't their will, but they went in and dealt with it. They did not know. They even told Nebuchadnezzar. They said, King, we ain't even got to think hard on this question, whether or not to bow down, which would have been sin in their case. Now, here they life on the line, and they got the chance, just like Jesus had the chance to save himself, and he could have got out of it and not die for our sins. Hey, it would have been scrapped, but he would have been okay. Well, they had, these are some more, because somebody might say, well, see, Jesus, he knew, he was God, so he had it better. Look, these guys was just like me and you. They didn't used to be God, but they told Nebuchadnezzar, they said, King, we don't even have to think hard about your question. We're not bowing down to your image. We're not going to bow down. And they said, the God who we serve, he's able to deliver us, but even if he don't, that let me know they didn't know that he was. They knew he was able, but they couldn't have known that he was going to do it. They said, but even if he don't, we ain't worried about it. We're not going to bow down to it. See, and that's the same thing going to be going on during Great Tribulation. That's why Satan already got them duped, telling them you're going to be raptured off to heaven. You don't have to worry about it. You know, the rapture is somebody else's will. It's not God's will because it's not in the Bible. That's somebody else's will. That's a lie. So when that don't happen, a lot of people going to be dumbfounded. They're going to be looking at whether or not to take the mark of the beast and worship, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had to determine which way they was going to go with it. A lot of people going to be in the same case. They're going to have the opportunity. And you can save yourself because all you got to do. See, that's how I know, people say, well, they got the mark of the beast out now. It's out. No, it ain't out now. It's not out now. It's not going to be nothing sneaky about it. That's what people act like, like you might even have it now. It might be on your Social Security card. Or you're going to have to no, it's not going to be sneaky. It's going to be up front in your face. Take it or we're going to cut your head off. Let us know what you're going to do. We're going to give you a little time to think about it, not much. So it's not going to be nothing sneaky about it. You ain't got to worry about it, like you sleep or they might trap me over here. Look, no, it's going to be the same type of deal as it always was. They figure you scared enough to do exactly what they say, and they're going to be amazed that they got some crazy people like us that's going to say, no, that's just like, it's going to be some people do it. Just like the three brothers, just like Daniel, it's going to be some people that said, nah, do what you got to do. I see you in judgment. So it's not going to be nothing sneaky about it. So the bottom line is you will have an opportunity to have it according to your will. That's why Jesus talk about if you save your life now, you're going to lose it later. You could save your life. You can have it even that's spiritual, you can save your life. You can have it your way. It don't even have to be come down to death. It could just be you just want to keep doing everything your way. But that means you saving your life, you having it your way, but you're not doing God's will, and you're going to answer for it in the end. Deuteronomy 17. Deuteronomy 17. And verse 8. And this is the way man is. Naturally, we all want it our way. 17 and 8. This is something real simple that the Lord has set up when he established Israel as a nation. And he had to tell them something concrete about this judgment. 17 and 8. Okay, go ahead.
If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of judgment.
Okay, see, so the Lord always got somebody to know, even if it's not in your particular location. Israel was scattered. They had all the land of Israel, but the Lord had the headquarters, which at this time it wasn't Jerusalem. It started off really being where Joshua was at because he was the leader. He was an Ephraimite, so it would start off in Shiloh when they first got into the land. But this is before they even got into the land. The Lord telling them, when you get into the land, you have some wise people among you, but maybe where you live at, nobody, it'd be a more harder issue to deal with. He had a headquarters where you can go and still get the answer. That's why he said in verse 8, if there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea. See, so it can be some blood shed. It can be some promises made. It could be some strokes made. He said, between stroke and stroke being matters of controversy within thy gates. Then thou shalt arise and get thee unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. Ultimately, that place is Jerusalem. That's why we pray toward Jerusalem now. That's why Daniel went in the lion's den. Because they said, don't pray for 30 days. And he went home and went straight facing Jerusalem. And they saw him. He knew they had the law too, so he didn't care. Praying toward Jerusalem. Windows open, facing Jerusalem. That's what got him in trouble. Because if he would have just sat down on his couch and closed his eyes, they couldn't have said he was praying. But being that he went through his same ritual of facing Jerusalem, hey, they came and grabbed him. It was obvious. So that's where that's the place that the Lord ultimately chose, and it will be the place. He said, you come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire. See, we're a long way from there, but even now we got some people with some wisdom who we can go get some answers from. And they shall show thee the sentence of the judge. They're going to show you the sentence of the judgment, he said. Now read verse 10 again.
And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee.
Now you're going to do, why does he tell you that? Because that's what you went there for, and he know everybody want it their way. Everybody want their will. You know, sometimes people get in arguments. Even here, they get in arguments with one another. It don't even be about the argument. Just like I talk about husband and wives, or it could be two men, two women. It's not even about the argument anymore. It's about being right. Just want to be right now. And want it to be their way. It's not going to be the end of the world if it's not their way, but that's almost how they feel. That's almost how they feel. If this don't go my way, I'm done with it. I can't go on. But it's not even that serious. But he know that's how the flesh is. He know that's how the flesh is. So that's why he said, you shall do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee, and thou shalt what?
And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee.
Go ahead.
According to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do.
You should do it. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee, to the right hand nor to the left.
He said, don't decline to the right hand nor to the left. That's what you went there for, to get an answer. But again, you can get in your own way. Your flesh can get in the way, and you just want it according to your will. See, and that's back to putting it in God's hand, trusting in the Lord, or what the title of the lesson is, thy will be done, not mine. Because again, it's not, even if you wrong in this instance, it's not going to be the end of the world. You was able to still go get the answer and find out the truth. So now, the issue is supposed to be over, but a lot of times, flesh, even to this day, we don't want it to be over because it didn't turn out how we wanted it to turn out. So it's still a problem. I'm telling you, I had people come to me, bring me some issues, even some issues that really wasn't that significant. Bring me some issues so I already know something. When they really bring them to me, well, you need to sit down with us because they saying so-and-so, and, you know, we got to settle this. And I'm talking about I done sat down with some people, sat down right back in the back, sat down with them and tell them, well, yeah, they right, you know, so-and-so. And the people be mad. Like the other people gave me some money or something for me to side with them. Brother Elijah ain't right. And a lot of times it's the main one pushing the issue. They was pushing the issue. They just assume that they right. Okay, that's fine. You think you right, but if you come to somebody that's supposed to have an answer, you should be wise enough to accept that. It's not going to kill you. That case, it wasn't going to kill them. Wasn't even that significant. No, Brother Elijah wrong. I don't know why he said that. Well, obviously, should have an idea that you don't have if you didn't came to me. See, this is why, but the Lord know that that's how flesh would do it. He know that's how flesh. Read verse 11 again, because y'all don't hear me.
According to the sentence of the law, which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee, to the right hand nor to the left.
See, he got to tell you that. Don't decline to the right hand or to the left, even though it's not what you wanted. It's not your will. But this is along with having it according to God's will. Because that's what whoever standing before God telling you. See, hey, people don't have enough money to give me, to make me side with them, because I'm looking at God. I fear the Lord. So I ain't going to try to do nothing but set the record straight. Go ahead, verse 12.
And the man that will do presumptuously and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die.
Even that man shall die. It didn't even say what the case was. You know, obviously it wasn't the end of the world case, because they both was able to get up and go to the place and seek some counsel from the priest or the judge. So they both went there their own volition. They was able to go there, probably mad. Come on, let's go. We're going to go settle this. But still, they was able to go. Now, somebody got to die, because they was hard-headed and didn't want it to be according to God's will. So he said, the one that do presumptuously and won't do what the priest or the judge say, even that man shall die, and thou shalt what?
And thou shalt put away the evil from Israel.
And thou shalt put away the evil, because that's evil, because now it's one thing if it's something just between you and the Lord, and you choose to do your will instead of God's will, where you're not affecting nobody else. That's just between you and the Lord. The Lord going to deal with you in due season on that. But it's another thing when it's between you and somebody else and the Lord, and you study creating havoc. He said, put away the evil. That man shall die. Put away the evil from Israel. Verse 13.
And all the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumptuously.
See, and everybody else will be instructed. Everybody else will learn. 1 Corinthians 6, to the New Testament. 1 Corinthians 6. Thy will be done, not mine. See, even in that simple little debate that will go on, the Lord got that in the Bible for a reason, because you got to get out of it wanting it to be according to your will. First Corinthians 6. 1 Corinthians 6 and 1. 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust and not before the saints?
See, now, things don't change. So we left Deuteronomy. Where was we at? Deuteronomy 17. Now we all the way deep in the New Testament, 1 Corinthians 6, and you got the same issue. There's always going to be issue when you got, like the Bible said, where two or more are gathered, I'm in the midst, and that's good. But guess who else going to be in the midst where two or more gathered? Satan going to be in the midst too, trying to create some havoc. So wherever you got people gathered, even if they got intention to do the Lord's will, it's going to be some issues that you have to deal with. So he gave you a remedy in Deuteronomy, and now Paul giving us the same remedy in 1 Corinthians 6. And that is, you should have somebody somewhere, even if they're not real close to you, somebody somewhere got enough wisdom to solve the matter if it's a dispute between servants of God. And if we trying to be servants of God, then we want to let his will be done and not our own. So he said, there any of you having a matter against another, go to the law before the unjust and not before the saints. So what is he talking about? He said, look, these people, instead of, like in the case in Deuteronomy, instead of, Israel was set up as a holy nation, so it wasn't nowhere else you could go. But if it was some other civil authority outside of God's holy nation, then that would have been a problem with them going to them. And that's what it is. In this case, he's dealing with Gentiles, and the Gentiles, they among their people, and they got, like we got now, they got judges, they got courts, system. But it's not solely based on holiness and according to God's laws and standards. Even though some of it is. They got some of the laws they have is based on God's law. But as a whole, it's not. So that's why he said, there any of you had a matter against another, go to the law before the unjust. So he called it the civil authorities. He said they're unjust. I mean, which you can see that to this day. Even though they got some good laws, as a whole, it's unjust. Simple fact of being unjust is that even they got the death penalty in a lot of places for murder. Look, you should have the death penalty for breaking the Sabbath day according to God. If you're going to have one, people got the death penalty for breaking this, and that shows you how twisted it is. You should have the death penalty for adultery according to God. When the last time you even heard of somebody being charged with adultery? They only use that to get out of being married and divorced. They'd bring that up in court, but you ain't heard. When the last time you heard, old boy got arrested for committing adultery? No. When the last time you heard that? You ain't never heard that. He slept with old boy's wife. The police came in there and got him. He doing 15 to 20, man. You ain't never heard of that. Because the law is unjust. It's skewed. So this is what he's talking about. He said, you go before the unjust and not before the saints. Verse 2.
Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world?
Mm-hmm.
And if the world should be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matter?
See, the saints going to judge the world. That's a big statement. He going to say something even bigger for little people's minds. What?
Know ye not that we shall judge angels?
He said, know ye not that we going to judge angels. That really go over people's head because they ain't heard nothing like that. The only thing they've heard is a lie about being raptured off to heaven. No, it's about thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. And the saints are going to rule the kingdom, even over angels, because we striving to be just like our Father. Go ahead.
How much more things that pertain to this life?
So we should be able to deal with some minor issues if ultimately we in line to judge angels. Go ahead.
If then ye have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church.
See, set them to judge. So you find some people that's they gotta have some capability. He don't mean you find some little babies or somebody. No, he mean, hey, have somebody. It don't have to be the people at the head because they got a lot of responsibility dealing with the word, period. But you find some, like Moses did. Moses found some people under him, less esteemed than he was, to handle a lot of judgments and things like that. That's what he did. So that's kind of what he's talking about. But you find somebody that can handle disputes, etc. Go ahead.
I speak to your shame. Is it so that there is not a wise man amongst you? No, not one, that shall be able to judge between his brethren?
He said, look, so nobody can handle this? Not one? Go ahead.
But brother goeth to law with brother, and that before the unbelievers.
See, but so instead of, they didn't have the mindset to handle it among themselves, to even see, and nobody had no wisdom to say we can handle it. So that's what they was doing. They was going to law. So everybody is out for themselves too. Go ahead.
Now therefore there is utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law one with another.
See, you go to law one with another. Now you done had a problem with your brother or sister in the Lord, and instead of something like service of God, you're going to go to the unjust system. Go ahead.
Why do ye not rather take wrong?
See, he said, why do you not rather take wrong? If it got to be that bad, you've been wrong, even if you'd have been wronged by somebody, by a servant of God, then before you go that far, he said, just take it. Because ultimately, you know God see it when it come down to that. If you've been wrong, God going to take care of it, ultimately. Even if it's nobody immediately on the scene, no wise saints to be judges, God still is going to take care of it. So that's why he said, before you take it to some unjust people to solve the matter, why do you not rather take wrong? See, but again, even doing that, that wouldn't be your will. But you're not trying to do your will. He said, the title is, thy will be done. God's will, not mine. So he said, there is therefore utterly a fault among you, because ye go to law one with another. Go ahead.
Why do ye not rather take wrong?
Why do you not rather take wrong? What do you mean by that? Go ahead.
Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded?
He said that'll be the best scenario. Suffer yourself to be defrauded instead of you going to sue somebody or you going to take them to court because of some wrong that in the big scheme of things, it's not going to add up to much. But being that you thinking about yourself, you're not necessarily thinking about the body that, hey, this person needs to be corrected for the body's sake. No, it's about you and what you feel you have lost. So he said, why don't you take wrong? Why don't you suffer yourself to be defrauded? But that's not easy. Why? Because that's not your will. You want to be vindicated, and if you lost something, you want it back, probably with interest. But again, thy will be done. You're talking about the Lord's will being done, not yours. And if you know if you serving God, God going to take care of you regardless of what somebody else has done. Now, go to back to the Old Testament, 2 Kings 5. 2 Kings 5. And this go across the board. Whatever you could think of. See, and it don't matter that we servants of God, I'm sure, doing our best to please God, to serve God, that don't mean we immune from still trying to have it our way, because that's who this Bible was written. It's written the servants of God. He was writing the servants of God in Deuteronomy 17 when he said, you go to the judge to settle this matter, then you accept it the way it come out. He was writing the servants of God. We just read in 1 Corinthians 6 and said, look, suffer yourself to be defrauded before you take it to the max and go to some civil authorities. He was writing the servants of God. 2 Kings 5:1. 2 Kings 5:1. Go ahead and read it.
Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper.
Okay, so now he was a mighty man of valor. He was a great warrior, basically. This guy Naaman. But he wasn't from Israel. He was from another nation, Syria. But at times they had peace among each other. At times when Israel messed up, the Lord let the Syrians beat up on Israel, even take some of them into slavery. That's how the Lord do it. That's how we know why we in slavery to this day, because the Lord let some people beat up on us and do it. Well, that was nothing new. So this is about this Syrian guy who, though he's not Israel, he's in close proximity and contact with Israel. Go ahead, verse 2.
And the Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife.
See, again, that happened because the Lord, evidently the Israel had made God mad. So the Syrians had took some of us as slaves. And this lady that was taken in this case, one of the people that was taken, she was a maid waiting on this general, Naaman's wife. Go ahead. But now I did throw something in there at the end of verse 1. It said this mighty man of valor and how he had did good for the Syrians. How it said that he was a leper. So he got this sickness on him, which is obvious because it's a skin disease. Go ahead.
And she said unto her mistress, would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he will recover him of his leprosy.
See, one thing about Israel, it don't matter. We could be on the bottom. We could be in slavery. The Lord got some of us that still know about God. You over there serving somebody. You over there, she probably was over there washing some greens. He said, girl, I wish your husband talked to the Lord. The Lord got a prophet in Israel that'll help your husband. And she knew this, even though she in captivity. She knew this. She believed it. She knew it. She said, would God, my Lord, were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. She knew about this prophet. Elisha, go ahead, verse 4.
And one went in and told his Lord, saying, thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel.
Now, some of them, a lot of times they don't want to listen to the servants, to the slaves, to the maid, but some of them had some sense and did. So he one that has some sense and he listened to her, even though she the maid, she the servant. Go ahead.
And the king of Syria said, go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. Okay, so now
not Naaman, that's the king of Syria. Naaman wasn't the king. He was one of the generals in the army. He was one of the leading men, but he wasn't the king. So it got back to the king. So the king said, okay, well, we'll take care of it. I contact, he a king. He said, look, I contact the king of Israel. We'll get to the bottom of it. Somebody over there, probably halfway didn't believe it. Somebody over there that can cure you of your leprosy, the king should know about it. So he sent a letter to the king of Israel with the guy and some people, and took some talents of silver, 10 of them, 6,000 pieces of gold, 10 chains of raiment. Verse 6.
And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman, my servant, to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy.
So the king, this come from the king. This just come from Naaman. And they kind of ruling over Israel. You see, the lady is already a servant in the man's house, in Naaman's house. So the king sent the letter, sent all the stuff, going to pay the king of Israel, going to send him already his pay because he want to see how he going to get recovered of this leprosy. He said, by the time you get this letter, you getting it, my servant Naaman is there, and I'm paying you this so you can recover him, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. Verse 7.
And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man does send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy?
See, he was upset, boy. He ripped his clothes. He figured it's just a trick. And he don't have the faith in God that he need anyway. Matter of fact, he was more of a problem than anything. The Lord that's why the Lord is patient. The Lord still worked through him until he finally took him out. But anyway, he said, man, am I God to kill and make alive, that this man going to send me to recover a man of his leprosy? Finish verse 7.
Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me.
See, he trying to start something. He know good and doggone well I can't recover this man his leprosy. He know I can't do it. He just trying to pick a fight. Verse 8.
And it was so, when Elisha, the man of God, had heard the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes?
Well, that's who the maid was talking about anyway. This prophet. She didn't say nothing about the king. She knew the king couldn't do nothing, but that's how they do. They went through the protocol. They started from the top. And the king didn't have enough faith to even call Elisha, but he heard about it. So when he heard that the king of Israel rent his clothes, he sent a message to him, to the king, and said, man, why you rip your clothes? Let him do what?
Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel.
So he said, send Naaman over here. Let him come to me, and he going to know. That show you, boy, God, every now and then he will give his servants some power, and ain't nothing they can't do. And he know it ain't nothing he can't do. He said, man, send him over here. He going to know it's a prophet around here. Because the king ain't got no faith like that. He ain't even serving God, if truth be told. But go ahead.
So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot and stood at the door of the house of Elisha.
Go ahead.
And Elisha sent the messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean.
See, now notice this. Now he go to Elisha's house. He go to his house, and he go with all kind. You know, he a big shot now. So he got all kind of, it said Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. So, you know, he probably got a whole bunch of people with him, a lot of pomp and circumstance. And the prophet, he sent a messenger unto him, it said. Elisha sent a messenger unto him saying, go and watch. In other words, the prophet didn't even come out to say hi to the man. That's probably halfway insult. He didn't even come out. Because he don't want nothing. This would have been, if he would have been a false prophet, he would have ran out there and greeted the man. He would say, yeah, I'm gonna hook you up, but you got to make your donation first. That's what they say when they going to do something. Well, send in your donation, then I'm going to send you so-and-so. Do this. I'm going to send you this healing spring water. But he didn't even go out there to meet the man, and then he told him what to do to be healed, because he's not looking for nothing from the man. And he told him, the message said, go wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. That was real simple. Sometimes the Lord have us do something that's too simple for us because we're looking to do something greater. Go ahead, keep reading.
But Naaman was wroth and went away and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me.
That's what you thought. Quit thinking. But go, because again, he get a pass because he don't know the God of Israel like Israel do. So he kind of get a pass, but he was expecting some type of dramatics. But even him, that was according to his will. See, it's not according to our will. And it was real simple. So he didn't do what you thought according to your will. He told you to do something if you really come there and expect that he got power, but you halfway don't believe. You really come there trying to get the answer, you're going to do what he said, especially when he didn't tell you to do nothing outrageous. He didn't tell you to do nothing outrageous you can't do. He said, go to Jordan, dip 7 times. That is nothing. But he expected something. See, sometimes we expect something, but it don't have to be how we expect, because thy will be done, not mine. So not only is he not going to do at first, not only is he not going to do what the servant of God told him to do to be healed of his leprosy, not only that, the man is mad. He is upset. That's what it said. Read verse 11 again. Go ahead.
But Naaman was wroth and went away and said, Behold, I thought he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God.
See, he must have been around some false prophets. That's what they would have did, right? They would have came out and raised a ruckus. And then they would have said, just have faith, and the man probably would have never got healed. Just keep having faith, though. It's going to happen. Or then they say, well, you didn't have enough faith. But he said, I thought he would come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God. And what else?
And strike his hand over the place.
See, he was looking for Benny Hinn for sure, wasn't he? He said, I was looking for Benny Hinn to come out. Slap me upside the head. Go ahead.
And recover the leper.
Go ahead.
Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel?
See, now he going to insult Israel, and he had to come to them to get healed. Just because, see, but people that's in power, they get so big-headed. Now, he don't think, he really didn't have enough faith to be there, really. But the Lord going to make a point out of him, make a point with him anyway. He talking about the rivers, and we got better rivers than it. Look, it's not the river, dummy. It's having faith in the God of Israel that he can do it. He said, not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel. Go ahead.
May I not wash in them and be clean?
No. Go ahead.
So he turned and went away in a rage.
He wasn't even a little mad. He was outraged. He went away in a rage over nothing. See, he really was looking for it to be according to his will. He got there, it wasn't according to his will, skip it. This don't make no sense. Got me riding all the way over here. I should go beat him up. Probably was thinking crazy because he went away in a rage. 13.
And his servants came near and spake unto him and said, my father,
go ahead.
If the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldest thou not have done it?
Go ahead.
How much rather then when he said to thee, wash and be clean?
See, even though good thing he didn't go back and talk crazy to the prophet, because even though he has basically in his mind and verbally kind of showed disrespect for Israel and the God of Israel, still, what the prophet says still gonna stand. All he still got to do is go do it. And somebody with some understanding under him tipped up to him and told him something real, just some common sense. Just reason with him. He said, they came and said, look, my father, if the prophet bid thee do some great thing, told you to ride your horse all the way to the top of the mountain upside down. He'd have been trying to flip the horse over. Wouldst thou not have done it? How much rather then when he said to thee, wash and be clean? He said, that's all he said, wash and be clean. Go ahead.
Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God.
After he calmed down, he realized, he said, yeah, that do make sense, don't it? And what you got to lose anyway? You ain't got nothing to lose. Even if it don't work, you done came out this far. So he did exactly what the prophet told him, dipped himself in Jordan 7 times. Go ahead.
And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean.
Well, I know he felt stupid because he could have been clean. He wasted a little time. I don't know how much. And not only that, he all upset for nothing. That show you looking for something to happen the way you think it should happen. It don't have to happen the way you think it should happen. Just go with the program. 15.
And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him. And he said, behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth.
See, that's what the point of this was. This is why the Lord let him get healed anyway. Because he's showing, even though Israel's struggling and some of them in slavery, the Lord letting it be known that, look, it's only one God in all the earth. And he knew that for sure. That was the point of the matter. He said, he came back to the man of God and said, now I know that there is no God in all the earth, but where?
But in Israel.
And that's the truth to this day. That's why no matter what, the Lord going to do it through Israel. To this day, we've been in captivity, we've been lost, just like that maid was. But the big issue that this man had, couldn't nobody help him but the God of Israel. Now what?
Now therefore, I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant.
Now he said, take a blessing of thy servant. Take a blessing of your servant. Go ahead.
But he said, as the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none.
Uh-huh.
And he urged him to take it, but he refused.
See, now he urged the man to take some gratuity for it. And he refused because he wasn't in it for that. Just like, you know, I say, that's why we're going to deal with that tomorrow. We're going to deal with a lesson on tithes tomorrow. But when we do a lesson on tithes, it's just like any other lesson. It's just to point out that that's our responsibility, that it's still good, not to try to hit people up for money like the average church do all the time. They do it all the time. But if you trying to serve the Lord, you're not set up to try to get no money. You set up to preach the gospel. Obviously, we need money to do it, but that's not the lead story. Hey, that's going to take care of itself. If we serving God, God going to make a way. So you're not set up for that. That's why we don't do like the average church do. We don't even pass no plate around to get no money. Half the time, been and forgot. Like me and the brothers go out of town. You know, we have a donation collecting there, and the brother's supposed to get the donation. Shoot, we don't even be thinking about it. We be too busy dealing with the word. The people, like say, for instance, we in Philly, they be like, hey, you better get the tithe. We be like, oh, we about to go to the airport, leave the tithe. Because they ain't even on our mind. We there to deal with the word. So that's the same way this prophet was. He wasn't about no money. He could care less about the man money. That's why he didn't go out and even greet the man. Look, I come to give you something. You might have more money than me, but hey, I wouldn't trade what I got for no amount of money in this world. I wouldn't trade what I got. I'm telling you for real. I wouldn't trade what I got for no amount of money, and that is some wisdom and knowledge on how to serve God and even show other people how to do it. So he wasn't worried about no money. That's why he didn't go out and meet him. And then when the guy almost begged him, take it, take it, take it. No, that's okay. I'm straight. Go ahead.
And Naaman said, so there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules, burden of earth. For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord.
He realized, boy, he got an awakening. Go ahead.
In this thing the Lord pardon thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon thy servant in this thing.
See, he don't even got enough faith to know he don't need to do that. But again, what you expect? He not even Israel. And the prophet not even going to get into it with him. But that's just like saying, you know, yeah, because that's your job. Look, it was Daniel's job to obey what they said, to obey the laws. He was in the government, but when they made a law that was going to go against God, Daniel didn't follow that law. And went into the lion's den not to follow that law. So he don't know no better. And the prophet just said, go on ahead, man, go on ahead. Because he don't have a clue. Because really, he should be ready. If you really going to have some faith, you better tell your master, look, I can't do that no more. And let the chips fall where they may. But go ahead.
And he said unto him, go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, behold, my master has spared Naaman this Syrian, and not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him.
Now this go to show you, even when the word of God is prominent, being preached and taught and lived, it still to be somebody right there on their own page. So this guy, Gehazi, he is right there with this prophet. See, he in more jeopardy than somebody like Naaman, because Naaman is not supposed to know. So that's why the prophet didn't even get into that with him about, he talking about it when he go in the house of Rimmon. You don't even need to go in the house of Rimmon no more. That's a false god. But he know this is a stranger. He a non-Israelite. He don't know. He got to grow up to that. But now somebody like Gehazi, who is basically supposed to be like the right-hand man of this great prophet, who looking at the great prophet, all the works that the great prophet is doing, and just saw the great prophet heal this man of leprosy. He didn't have to do nothing, just tell him to go wash. But he knew what to tell him to do. But yet and still, he thinking about his own will. He right there with him. So what happened? It said, after Naaman left, it said Gehazi, verse 20, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, behold, my master, speaking about Elisha, have spared Naaman this Syrian in not receiving at his hand that which he brought. But what? Finish verse 20. But as the Lord liveth,
I will run after him and take somewhat of him.
See, but he said, as the Lord liveth. He said, boy, the Lord knows I'm getting ready to get some of that stuff. But what he thinking about?